Good evening and welcome to the news at 10. I'm Sanipho Ngona. I'm with Nomaklabe Songamule. We're coming to you live from the Hospital Hill Studios in Babane. These are your headlines tonight. Siblings and the widow of deceased Ibet Tuduzi Mazia have appeared before the Judicial Commission of Inquiry that is investigating alleged malpractice into the office of the Master of the High Court. Lack of signage, especially at pedestrian overhead bridges, is one of the major factors contributing to road accidents involving trucks in the country. And the Minister of Commerce, Industry and Trade, together with the relevant stakeholders, are looking into ways of operationalizing one-stop shop for investors. And the news in detail. Siblings and the widow of deceased Ibet Tuduzi Mazia have appeared before the Judicial Commission of Inquiry that is investigating alleged malpractice in the office of the Master of the High Court. The widow, Nonjabuliso Mazia's lawyers, Mangaliso Kumalo, informed the Commission of some of the alleged maladministration of the deceased Tuduzi Mazia's estate, as 2 motor vehicles and tractor have been sold under questionable circumstances.
The deceased Tuduzi Mazia died in the year 2020. His estate includes a plot of land in Fairview, Manzini, and another one in Mozambique with the rental flats near the beach. The deceased also owned Ibet betting license. When the Mazia family appeared before the Judicial Commission of Inquiry investigation alleged malpractice in the office of the Master of the High Court, the chairperson of the commission, Commissioner Majahenga Badlamin, and Commissioner Mzwandile Fakutse said the estate cannot be separated from Ibet and other children.
But by at the end of the day, estate properties outside the country. Some of these dogs have a corner.
Part of the estate include a Ibet. That's by legally reading of the application. Minister, when the decision, the board made a decision, and then there was an appeal to the minister overturning decision. So, Ngo City, the argument here, your master would say, the issues are not interrelated. They are, by virtue of being the executor, would see not Lama shares, if needs be, sell them as the executor of the estate. So there's no way you can separate the two.
Meanwhile, the deceased sister Nelson Mazia accused the office of the Master of the High Court of failing to assist the family in finalizing the estate of the deceased. She went on to state that it was disturbing that the office does not have Gladys Masego's marriage certificate, but only have the death certificate. She alleged that the Mazia family provided a copy of Masego's marriage certificate. Lawyer Mangaliso Kumalo, who is the legal representative of the widow, says other children of the deceased does not want a co-executor elected.
My client's father demanded to know from Mr. Mazia if he had another wife, if he was married. And Mr. Mazia said, I was married, but I divorced. I will fast forward and then come back. That is why when you go to Home Affairs, because I also did it personally, I did a checkup myself. When you go to Home Affairs to check, Mr. Mazia is not married in civil rights. Because of that divorce, he told his father-in-law that I divorced with my first wife.
Mazin Deputy Master of High Court Makhosazana Mdluli informed the Judicial Commission that the Mazia family have failed numerous times to appear before the office of the Master of the High Court. She also added that the family also failed to come with one Lambele, whom they say she is another wife of the deceased, and she is based in South Africa. At the time of compiling the report, the Judicial Commission was still in session. For Eswatini TV News, Fortune Dlangamandla, Mbabane.
One of the major factors that contribute to road accidents involving trucks in the country is the lack of signage, especially at pedestrian overhead bridges. This was said by some of the heavy haulage truck drivers when expressing their thoughts on accidents that occur on the country's roads. Eswatini TV's Mbonga Dube has more on that story.
Following the traffic accident which involved a truck at Elangeni along the MR3 road and resulted in the damage of an overhead pedestrian crossing bridge, some truck drivers expressed their concerns about the safety of the country's roads.
The first lane, mak overtake na lama truck I2. The first lane iba incane yona ngoba kunalama guardrail phakathi. Nale bridge futhi la phezulu. Njengoba lingabhalwanga ukuthi li how many meters kuya phezulu. Lama truck nje ama-totliner layisha uthole ukuthi le phezulu sekufuna uzikalele wena lokuthi zawukhona kudlula yini lapha phezulu leyalo.
Even nala manakunya lezi zinto lezibambela ama-bridge lamaceleni azibonakala ukuthi ziphama ngani. Even now sothi uya overtake ufuna uyigade lento ngoba maybe mhlawumbe na ungayihaka ngenzeke accident ngalo.
Hayi must driver lapha siwabona amasayini kodwa amasayini ayafuneka asisiza kakhulu. Yabona kufikele ingozi sometimes amasayini bonisa ukuthi ibridge lincane olikhulu. Yabona.
The drivers' concerns were confirmed by some stakeholders in the road safety sector who preferred not to be recorded on camera. When we took a drive on the MR3 road from Ngwenya to Manzini, we noticed that indeed there is no signage that warns drivers about the height of the overhead bridges, which is a sharp contrast to those in other countries. The diagonal iron bars that support the bridges are about 1.5 meters into the first lane from the pillars in the center of the road. Attempt made to contact the Ministry of Public Works and Transport to correct what seems to be an anomaly were unsuccessful as the ministry's officials did not pick up our phone calls. Reporting, I'm Mbonga Dube in Eswatini.
The Minister of Commerce, Industry and Trade, together with relevant stakeholders, are looking into the operationalization of the one-stop shop for investors. The Undersecretary in the Ministry of Commerce, Eswatini, says some of the things that need to be reviewed are the issues of law reforms. Eswatini was speaking during a consultative workshop held in Manzini.
Relevant stakeholders are actively engaged in assisting investors in Eswatini to streamline the process of setting up businesses in the country. The Undersecretary of the Ministry of Commerce, Industry and Trade, emphasizes their commitment to considering all submissions to facilitate an investor-friendly environment for the benefit of the economy.
We're meeting different stakeholders to find out what it is that they are doing, or to also bring them together and find out how they can better collaborate to be able to establish this one-stop shop. It is meant to enable us as Eswatini, because the challenges being faced by business people and investors is not necessarily unique to Eswatini, but Eswatini must put themselves in a better place to be able to be the favorable place of investment because we have been able to efficiently and quickly onboard investors whenever they come. So this requires us to then deal with the issues, synchronize our activities, and make sure that every stakeholder has been taken care of with regards to what needs to be in place for the establishment of the one-stop shop. We need to review the processes themselves to see if we can shorten the turnaround time, and then also review how we actually submit the documents required. Some of the documents do not need to be submitted in duplication in the various institutions. So once they have submitted a document, it should be able to be shared by the different institutions responsible for processing of an investor or a business person.
Hlabati stated that the ministry is contemplating the adoption of online options, acknowledging the shift of the business world towards the digital realm. Hlabati says this move aims to modernize processes and align with business practices. For Eswatini TV News, Sondomlangeni with Cindy Swazwane, Manzini.
Maswati with artistic skills in rural areas will soon be discovered, as the National Council of Arts and Culture announces. According to the council CEO Stanley Lamini, says the 1.5 billion will help equip arts centers established across the country.
Eswatini is poised to usher in an era where its talented citizens can harness their artistic skills to make a sustainable living. With the groundbreaking allocation of 10.8 million emalangeni from the Ministry of Finance, the nation is making a surrounding commitment to support and nurture its vibrant art community.
Kunyuka kwahulumende kusho kona ukuthi ema-arts uhulumende uwathathela eqophelweni lelisedulu.
The Eswatini National Council of Arts and Culture CEO, Stanley Dlamini, says that these funds will serve as a catalyst for empowering artistic individuals across the country. One of the primary objectives of this substantial budget is to equip art centers strategically established throughout the country. Dlamini highlights the significance of these centers, which serves as a hubs for artistic expression, skills development, and community engagement. Dlamini says they will soon install a state-of-the-art equipment and resources. Artists will have the tools they need to hone their craft and showcase their talents on both local and international stages. Dlamini further underscores the Council's commitment to fostering artistic excellency in every region of Eswatini. Notably, the establishment of art centers in various parts of the country underscores the Council's dedication to demonstrating access to artistic opportunities while acknowledging the concentration of artistic assistance in urban centers like Mbabane and Manzini. Eswatini TV News, Ndomlangeni, Sindiswazwane, Lobamba.
Following misconceptions pertaining the human papillomavirus vaccine, the HPV, the Health Promotion Department has addressed misconceptions around the HPV vaccine. Some people believe that vaccinated women become infertile due to the effects of the vaccine, yet this is not true. This was said by the Health Promotion Officer Calvin Dlamini during a workshop where the department was formulating accessible ways of the HPV vaccine.
The Health Promotion Officer under the Ministry of Health, Calvin Dlamini, says that the department will continue formulating HPV messages to be out on all platforms. This follows conceptions about the HPV virus.
Sesikubo 62% bantwana lesesibajovile so bese sibuka ke ukuthi simephi
62% of females have vaccinated so far, and we are aiming to have more, but the process of vaccinating is getting slow. We are here today to discuss ways of getting the vaccine accessible in all clinics, schools and communities. We are also addressing misconceptions that pop up about the vaccine, especially the religious beliefs. As the department, we may say that there are no such things, that the vaccine makes female infertile.
Dlamini also said that the conceptions they get lies on religious beliefs, but the process the vaccine undergo before being used on human beings, there is no way anything dangerous can be on it. He urged Maswati to continue taking the vaccine to fight HPV. Reporting is Cindy Swazwane with Sondomlangeni Ezulwini.
Looking at problems faced by employees in the workplace and the effects of the COVID-19, Numbod took an initiative to launch a wellness and health program for its employees under the theme "In All-Round Wellness for a Health Numbod," where the employees are provided with counseling and other services.
The head of Cooperative Services, Demangamane Masego, says that it is important to take care of health and wellness of employees since the company works with farmers that need them to be stable enough to give out information that will help boost the country's economy. Numbod focuses more on farmers and their production in terms of marketing. This means that the company cannot afford to have stressed and mentally unstable employees. All employees at Numbod should be well, healthy and stress-free. The Eswatini Business Health and Wellness Social Programs Office Mbuso advises companies to take this program for employees in order to tackle their personal problems they face on a daily basis.
We also have a local standard that we call the Awareness and Disease Management Standard that says all workplaces should be accredited with wellness program standards. So it is very important that as the workforce is in their workplace, each and every person is aware of their state of well-being, where they are in the continuum of wellness, so that they can understand what they need to improve as they continue to work, and how as they improve themselves, they also improve the work that they do.
Taking care of mental wellness of employees help with productivity at work. Reporting is Sidi Eswatini with Sondomlangeni Manzini.
The business community says the budget presented by the Minister for Finance, Rickenback, on Monday is a progressive one and it will foster economic growth. The chairperson of Vuselelo Fagutse said this in reaction to the budget speech by the Minister of Finance on Monday.
Very optimistic. It looks like a very expansionary budget that will take care of the various sectors of society. We see a bigger allocation to the health sector, to the education sector, which is where, as a country, there are a lot of investment. 17% of the budget is going to education, 10% is going to health. That's a lot of money compared to the total budget. So these are very important sectors for the country, and we believe that the continued investment in health and education is going to generate activity in the economy, but also create jobs in the education sector. We've heard of schools running short of teachers. We believe that this budget is going to create opportunities for government to employ more teachers to help with teaching, more nurses in the health sector, but also services to the hospitals. We've heard of hospitals running out of medications and all that. So this budget allows the country an opportunity to ensure that the service provision in the health sector continues to be strong, and that Maswat in general can continue to rely and depend on the government for those services. But also we also believe that as a private sector we have a role to play in supplementing government's activity in this, and by the investments that are already going on in the mining sector, in the energy sector, there's a lot of money that the energy sector is looking for, so we can generate our own power. So as a private sector, we have a big role to play in those sectors as well. And as Business Eswatini, we're really proud of the government of the day for the expansionary budget that they've presented, and we hope that it will pass in Parliament and run into execution. However, I heard that His Majesty has said we must run at pace to ensure that we counter the unemployment that exists in the country.
The Center for Financial Inclusion says it is investing all efforts into helping farmers reduce operating costs and securing funding for small and medium enterprises under the FinClude project. And the Cluster Development Officer Sbiso said this during the training of farmers in the Oho region on the available opportunities in the market, which was held at Isbanisame Hotel at Zulwini.
One aspect that the project is trying to address is the market. What we have done, most of our markets are not willing to provide a contract, but we are trying to foster a relationship with NAMPOD, who is the main market for our farmers. There have been challenges in the past. Farmers have been complaining about the markets with late payment. So such platforms are there to address those challenges, how we can foster relationships among farmers and the markets and try to address those challenges. Through FinClude intervention, we've seen an increased uptake of contracts that are being offered by NAMPOD. One of our challenges from the farmers is that they pay much in terms of production cost, which one of them is the input supplies, which in the past year you will remember that a cost of a 50 kg was 1,000 rand. So coming together here, we want to foster farmer input supply relationships where we are saying once farmers are grouped together, they can then be able to buy in bulk, which will enable the farm input shop to offer a discount, which will then reduce input costs, thus production costs will be reduced too.
Coming in from the High Court, father-in-law together with his sons have been arrested for allegedly attacking son-in-law who was allegedly assaulting his wife.
The accused persons are Mfanukona Magagula with his two sons, Shepherd and Wandile. They are all from Madlangempisi area. According to the charge sheet, the accused persons are charged with the offense of contravening the Sexual Offence and Domestic Violence Act. They are charged in that upon February 17, 2024, near Madlangempisi area. They allegedly did wrongfully and unlawfully assault Lucky Dlamini with kicks, open hands, and fists several times on the body. In court papers, Mfanukona submitted that together with his sons were arrested by Mliba police officers. He added that they appeared at the Manzini Magistrate Court on 19 February 2024, where they were remanded back into custody until 21st of February 2024, pending recovery of the complainant. He further informed the court that on the same date, they were granted bail, each of them fixed at 4,000 emalangeni. Mfankona also mentioned that on the day in question, he was home when his daughter came running, being physically assaulted by the complainant. He said when they asked the complainant why he was assaulting his wife, the complainant allegedly violently attacked them and a fight ensued. He told the court that they had to ward off the attack and save their lives that was under imminent danger from the complainant. They have since approached the High Court where they wanted the court to review their bail, which was fixed by the Magistrate Court at 4,000 emalangeni. The High Court fixed Mvankola's bail at emalangeni while his sons were to pay 250 emalangeni each. The matter was before High Court Judge Justice Mavuso. The accused persons are represented by their lawyer Makawe Dlamini of MV Dlamini Attorneys. For Eswatini TV News, Fortune Dlangamandla, High Court.
Now, international news, Hungary's parliament has voted to accept Sweden's bid to join NATO, bringing an end to more than 18 months of delays.
The vote, which passed with 188 votes for and 6 against, came as a culmination of months of wrangling by Hungary's allies to convince its nationalist government to lift its block on Sweden's membership. The government of Prime Minister Viktor Orban submitted the protocols for approving Sweden's entry into NATO in July 2022, but the matter had stalled in parliament over opposition by governing party lawmakers. United support among all NATO members is required to admit new countries, and Hungary is the last of the alliance's 31 members to give its backing since Turkey accepted the request last month. Addressing lawmakers before the vote, Orban said Sweden and Hungary's military cooperation and Sweden's NATO accession strengthen Hungary's security. Orban criticized Hungary's European Union and NATO allies for placing increased pressure on his government in the recent months to move forward on bringing Sweden in the alliance. Last weekend, a committed group of US senators visited Hungary and announced it will submit a joint resolution to Congress condemning Hungary's alleged democratic backsliding and urging Orban's government to immediately lift its block on Sweden's transatlantic. Meanwhile, in Palestine, Prime Minister Mohammed Shtayyeh announced his resignation yesterday as the Palestinian Authority looks to build support for an expanded role following Israel's war against the Islamist group Hamas in Gaza. The move comes amid U.S. growing pressure on President Mahmoud Abbas to shake up the authority as international efforts intensify to stop the fighting in Gaza and begin to work on a political structure to govern the enclave after the war. Abbas accepted the resignation and asked him to stay on as caretaker until a permanent replacement is appointed. The Prime Minister's departure marks a symbolic shift that underlines Abbas' determination to ensure the authority maintains its claim to leadership as international pressure grows for a revival of efforts to create a Palestinian state alongside Israel. In a statement to Cabinet, Mohammed, an academic economist who took office in 2019, said the next administration will need to take account of the emerging reality in Gaza, which has been laid waste by nearly 5 months of heavy fighting. He said the next stage will require new governmental and political arrangements that take into account the emerging reality in the Gaza Strip, the national duty talks, and the urgent need for an inter-Palestinian consensus. Israel has long accused the authority of supporting terrorism by offering financial support to the families of militants killed by Israel forces and allowing anti-Semitic material to be included in school textbooks. For Eswatini TV News, Mbendulo Kumbi, visual source from France 24 and DW.
Well, with those news, we shift gears now into the world of business. We take a look at financial indicators that will give us a sense of how markets have fared today in a financial report.
It can be.
Now, sports news, the Eswatini Football Association Chief Executive Officer Frederick Ngomezulu has applauded the government of the Kingdom of Eswatini for an allocation of 35 million emalangeni for the rehabilitation of the Somhlolo National Stadium. Ngomezulu says there's a possibility that both Sihlangu Samnikati and clubs representing the country in the CAF Champions League and CAF Confederations will be able to use the stadium this year.
Well, on that front at this moment, maybe first we would like to sincerely appreciate the efforts by government to allocate such a funding for the rehabilitation of Somhlolo National Stadium. We are hopeful and committed to work with government to ensure that whatever requirements that fall part of the standards that CAF requires for fields or stadia to host international matches will be met through this funding. In terms of realism as to whether we're going to be here this 2024, one might say it all depends on the speediness of the implementation of all the required logistics to have the rehabilitation works go through. For instance, the procurement of the contractors that are going to do the job and also how long they will take to do the job. But if we look at the remaining works that are currently at the National Stadium, we are hopeful that maybe towards the end of the year, the stadium might be back. But it all depends on how fast all this can be done so that we can have the stadium ready for use by our national teams and even the clubs that do duty in the CAF inter-clubs competitions.
Right, with those sports news, we've come to the conclusion of the news bulletin. But before we go, here's a quick reminder of news making headlines tonight. Siblings and the widow of deceased Ibet Bosom Tuduz Mazia have appeared before the Judicial Commission of Inquiry that is investigating alleged malpractice in the office of the Master of the High Court. Lack of signage, especially at pedestrian overhead bridges, is one of the major factors contributing to road accidents involving trucks in the country. And the Minister of Commerce, Industry and Trade, together with relevant stakeholders, are looking into ways of operationalizing one-stop shop for investors. Beautiful Kingdom of Eswatini, that's how we reach the conclusion of the news. But before we go, we shall cross over to the Weather Center for a detailed weather report from us and the rest of the team here at Eswatini TV. For now, it's good night and God bless.